Sorry, Brett.
Right.
Going through emails.
Why don't you go
How
through
exciting can that be?
Make you go through some up downs, some burpees, get your ass going.
I'll do that for you. I appreciate it. I got an hour and a half drive to State Farm Center, so I
Nice.
better be on something.
Well, along that note, congrats to Coach Fay. Starting off with a win today in women's basketball. Good luck to Brad tonight. We're just kind of processing ourselves through. Sunday, because the way the NCAA rules laid out, I couldn't actually meet with our guys Sunday or Monday. Didn't get them till this morning at 7 for the first time. So this morning we kind of took the Minnesota game, put it behind us, jumped into really development today. It was a huge Devo day for us. Our more the guys that have been playing the majority of the workload, right? So the guys that have taken most of the snaps, offense, defense, special teams, they kind of took a day with Tank today, soft tissue recovery, a lot of conditioning and weight room. We took the Devo crowd, so we took the majority of our twos and the development, the non-travel roster went through a pretty good intense practice today. I actually took our team photo today. One of the things that's different for me, I've always taken my team photo at the end of the year, just to kind of make sure you have the right roster there for that photo. So kind of a fun moment for us today to take that photo and move forward. We'll put a good work day in tomorrow. I was out on the road a couple days, as well as a couple other coaches with me. Then we will back in the office here for the most part. Most of my coaches will take off tomorrow afternoon and get in position to have a pretty heavy workload Thursday and Friday on the recruiting trail. We'll practice Thursday morning. Myself and the coordinators will run practice. That'll be a jump on Iowa and a little bit of Devo work as well. Then Friday they'll have a work day with Tank. We'll give them Saturday off, and then we'll jump into our work day on Sunday. As far as from the game, after we talked after the game, a lot of good players doing good things MVP wise. We kind of split it up on offense. Chase Brown, for what he's been able to accomplish, was really, really good. Mike Manning was our offensive scout, our defense player look team award. We gave it to their entire defense. Anybody that started in all of our packages on Saturday, the entire defense, and then special teams wise, Taylon Letzi and Kendall Smith received that honor. So we kind of did a broad-based approach with a couple of the units and then defense overall. I thought our guys, prepared very well and did some good things. We came out of the game pretty healthy. Nobody significant coming out of the game. Bobo will be the one guy that'll be questionable for the Iowa game, Jamal Woods, but chance that we'll see him back out there going forward. I know, have they talked to Jake yet? Or is that later? Tomorrow, you guys will get Jake Hansen back, but he got back late last week. It was kind of awesome to see him back in the building and see him on his road to recovery and to get around him. So other than that, open it up for questions.
Hey, Coach, this might be more of an end of season question, but you started out in the spring with a whole new defensive scheme and a new 3-4 scheme. Had to figure out how all of those pieces fit. How did you get from there to where you are now and shutting out a team in the first half and just giving up 6 points?
Yeah, first give credit to our players. Nobody comes to the stadium to watch coaches coach, right? They come to watch players play. I understand coaching is a part of it, and it's a huge part of why we've had success defensively for sure. I think give a lot of credit to Ryan and the defensive staff. Again, I'll go back to our first press conference I had with you guys before you even knew who Ryan or Tony or Ben was. I just said, hey, I wanted to bring in coordinators that didn't bring in a playbook and said, this is what we're running. I wanted to bring in coordinators that knew how to maximize strengths and minimize weaknesses. And I think Ryan in particular on defense has done an exceptional job of figuring out what we did well in the beginning of the season, what we didn't do well, eliminating that, and then playing to our strengths. And then I think each week the outside world looks at, the ranking or the win-loss record. It's really about the matchup. And I think that's one thing I've really learned as a coach is you can take all of the records going into any college football game and throw them out the window because none of them carry forward to the day itself. What it is about the matchup. It's about how your offense matches against their defense, their defense versus your offense, and of course your special teams against one another. And then obviously the head coaches on how they manage the game. That's really the key to every game, and that's where the game is won or lost.
Have you got to a point here where where this is looking a lot more like the what you envisioned for the defense, under your tenure here at Illinois?
I am excited. There's a couple key principles that I believe in. It's up front is to play with extension and set the edge. I think that's the foundation of run defense. And then in defensively in the passing game is to keep the ball in front of you, make them earn every inch. I don't want to give up big plays, right? I think very few teams can systematically continue to just march down the field. They rely on big play, home run hits. And the more defensively you can keep the ball in front of you, that's big. We do statistically check on, several principles I believe in, being great on third down, be good in scoring defense, be good against turnovers, and third down efficiency is big. But I think the more our defense has begun to communicate has been a big part of why we've had success. They really do a good job before the ball snapped, during the ball, and after the ball snapped. And then I think the communication skills between our coaches and our players is exceptional, and every day of the week.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Bret, I've heard you say a couple of times that Wednesday of the first bye week practice was really important for you guys. How do you replicate that, and what are some things you took away from that bye week to help you in this bye week?
That's a great point, Brett. So that week, right, we were coming off of a difficult game, right, and that's why I thought Wednesday in particular, you just didn't know what you're going to get. We actually worked them on Tuesday, everybody. We didn't do that today. We just worked our Devo guys on the grass. So I think tomorrow we'll hit the ground running. I got an 18 period, basically about a 2-hour practice on the field. And I'm going to make reference to that exact point tomorrow in my morning meetings. I'll also show them some clips from that game, from that practice. I know this, our guys have begun to understand that they play well when they practice well. And even today, when we had a Devo practice, we had very few guys on the ground. They were all on their feet. They're playing athletically. There was a physical practice. There was a lot of contact, but the guys were on their feet playing football. And those little baby steps are what give me those indicators what's going to come in the future. And hopefully this Wednesday will be just as good as the last Wednesday.
How important are wins, maybe especially on the road, to sell your vision to the team and that belief that they can go and be successful in what you're trying to get them to do?
Well, I would say, ironically, when I've been at another place where we had it rolling pretty good, one of the more difficult things was to win, on the road against tough teams that were ranked, right? That was kind of the last hurdle to try and win championships. And, I think we've proven now twice that this is something that we don't just fall into. I think they execute it. And at this stage in the program, it's kind of almost times a little bit easier to go on the road and maybe feel least pressure and just rely on what you're taught, right? Maybe it's a little bit easier to focus because it's us against the world. I'm really going to challenge our guys the next home game. Like, listen, where's your mind? Where's your focus? I know you got people coming in town, but let's have the focus that we had when we were at Penn State, when we were at Minnesota. Obviously, we have to go to Iowa yet. I think it's just part of the process to teach these guys to hone in on what's important, and that's easier said than it's a lot easier to do than to say, right? Like our guys have not had a lot of success at times, and it's hard sometimes to get them to do things that they haven't seen happen in front of them yet. And when we have a win on the road or at home, they definitely take notice of it and why it happened, and hopefully we'll continue that trend.
Thanks.
Yep.
Coach, my question is about Taylon. Let's see. Somebody you put on scholarship in April, you bring him back in these 2 road wins. He's the one who jumps on the muff punt at Penn State with 30 seconds to go. And then at Minnesota, he's the one downing the punt at the 1. So can you talk about what it means to have, he's just a special teams guy so far, but, to have a special teams guy make 2 plays like that? Yeah,
Robert. And actually he was, a guy, first day at camp, we would have had him there the whole time. He unfortunately had a soft tissue leg injury that kept him out several weeks. He's been impressive to me. Literally in the first meeting that I visited with him, I haven't seen any of these guys on the field yet. I just got to know him a little bit, and he's got 3 key ingredients, right? He's got the he's got the awareness. Just he's a very aware young man. Like when I don't care if it's about the summer camps he put on, or if it's about NIL, or if it's about academics, or just life in general. He's very aware. Second thing, he's got incredibly high IQ, right? Like his emotional intelligence, his ability to process, learn, and evaluate is exceptionally high. And the third thing that he's got a really high drive for success, right? Like he may not be the most talented player, maybe the highest or the fastest 40, but he's going to find a way to get it done. He's running just as fast as those other guys that are trying to cover him. He's playing just as physical as the other guys that maybe can run and jump a little higher. He reminds me a lot of a former player of mine here, Kevin Richardson, that's with me on staff. Kevin was probably one of the most intelligent, aware football players I've ever coached, and Taylon fits the bill in a lot of those same categories.
And as a, similar to your story, start as a walk-on, move to scholarship. How important is that in your program, for the first year to have a guy like that went to scholarship?
I guess I'm probably always going to pull for those guys just because of the road that I walked. But I'll go back to my first meeting, right? Never had a baby in a meeting before, right? But I look in the front row and Taylon sitting there with a baby, and I'm saying to myself, holy cow, we got a baby in the room, right? Like I had never really, been in that moment before. I felt like scene from Hangover, right? Like, suddenly there's a baby in the room. And I go back to that moment because it really kind of gave me a moment of, okay, as a head coach, I need to get out my comfort zone, right? Like the reason he had a child in the room with him is because there was no one else for that baby to go to. He couldn't afford babysitting, and the baby's mother was working. So it was just awesome for me to have that moment to realize just because I haven't done something isn't something that we can't ever do, right? And we worked through that, worked with him on different avenues. And again, as a coach, there are so many things I've learned from our players here since I came here that I just can't even begin to describe. I'm so thankful that they've taught me, right? And I know I've been able to hopefully teach them some things, but I think that's the great thing about being here right now with our players is it's a two-way street. We're learning from them, they're learning from us, and hopefully good things continue to happen.
Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, your safety duo seems to be playing pretty good football right now, and they seem to complement each other really well. How have Kirby and Sidney kind of impacted your defensive success?
Without a doubt, the other one I kind of throw in there, the Three Musketeers with Quan, because those three guys are all, Ryan coaches all those guys. Ryan pretty much handles that safety star room. Aaron handles the corners. They work a lot together, but I do agree. I think Sid and Kirby have got a really good knack playing off one another. They're kind of the yin and yang. Sidney's the jacked up, physical, very, very, very present player. I think anybody that watches us on film, 30's going to jump out to him about the people that he hits, the contact he makes, the speed that he plays with. And then Kirby's just got a, really, really good ball presence, great awareness. If you're a quarterback, you're going to know where he's at. Has a knack for a big play. And the good thing is really both of them are really just beginning to scratch the surface of what they can be. Both have definite player strengths. Kirby was in literally on Sunday before noon to find out what he could do better. That's just how he's wired. I just had a meeting with Sid about an hour and a half ago, and just his awareness of what he can get better at as a football player is pretty cool. And then I'm telling you, Quan probably, in my opinion, played his best game. He made a couple plays on Saturday that just really exceptional vision, break balance. A really, really a nice fit to the packages, and he's in there. And then I would tell you those guys are doing a great job of disguising in the back end, and that's probably one of the better things we've done so far this year.
And then I want to ask you, you've had a few guys enter the transfer portal, and that portal is already filling up this year. How do you approach those conversations with players? And is it now, ongoing, or after the season? How does that kind of go as a head coach?
Jeremy, great question. So literally when D Smith came in, that was the first player that had really come in and entered the portal world that I hadn't initiated, right? There's some of our guys that had moved into that world, but it was kind of a mutual conversation that we had at that point, right? So I had a feeling Derek was going down that path, just some conversations we'd had, but and then Beast came in and kind of shared those same things. I understand why both of them are doing it. I'll work with them any capacity I can. Both are on great terms. Both were very, very positive comments. Sometimes it just doesn't work the way we want it to. And both are great kids, represent, things fairly well. And we as coaches basically have a checkout procedure. So, right, when a kid comes in and tells me this is what he wants to do, I literally contact a couple of people in the building immediately. We'll gather all of their necessities, items that we want, take them down to the locker room, grab, basically like an exit, right? Like we grab, it's literally, we have a young man coming to campus here in this week that is someone that we actually literally competed against this year, right? So like it's a crazy, crazy time. And I when those kids make decisions to pull out, I tell the team who did it and when they did it. And listen, I get it. They're friends. Sometimes they're teammates, they're roommates. But from our point of view, they're not allowed in the building. We allow them to have everything academically, medically, any of the things they need to have support, but they're just not a part of the football team anymore. So training table meals, just different things like that. It's a little different world. It's very kind of NFL-ish, to be quite honest, when a player is released. But we do everything by the book. NCAA, I met extensively with Benji in our compliance office to make sure we're doing everything the way it's supposed to be done. And then we send them to compliance. They fill out some paperwork and they enter the portal. And then I haven't received any phone calls yet. I'm sure I will at some point, but we just basically tell them, here's what the rules are. This is what we'll do for you. We'll help you in any way we can to help you find a home, and wish you the best of luck and move on.
Thanks, Bret. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, on Saturday, you talked about the growth so how much you've learned from Isaiah Gay this season. I guess what has just been so profound about that relationship between you two? And I think you also mentioned some frustration at times, maybe on both ends. Where did that come from, and how did you guys get to this point now?
Well, IG is a very competitive person, very, very talented. Like I told him when I first got here, at my last job with the Giants, we drafted 2 players from the Big Ten Conference at the outside linebacker, the position that I coached, Cam Brown from Penn State and Carter Coughlin from the Minnesota Gophers. And I basically said, from a skill standpoint, he's in that frame, right? Like he's in that skill set. He should be a guy that realistically should be a draftable NFL player. But I just thought there were some things he really needed to work on. We talked about him, to play the way we play defensively, you got to play with great extension. You can't be a runaround guy. You got to learn to strain to play through blocks. Part of the reason we had so much success in Minnesota was the strain that we had. And literally our first play I showed today on defense, well, the first one was a turnover when Seth tipped the ball, right? But that was brought up on because Isaiah did an X stunt to that side and hammered the center and created the pick that made the tip, which made the pick happen, right? And that was all Isaiah Gay. Then I showed a basic run play in the middle of the third quarter where Isaiah just basically played with huge extension in the C gap and just annihilated the play. He didn't get the tackle, but he created the play. And I was just so proud of him. I shot him a text early Sunday about just what I saw on film and thought it was his best game, most complete game by far, playing at a high level. Now he's got to be able to put it together a couple times in a row. And I think he'll be in a very good place moving forward.
And then if I could get like a personnel question, Brian Hightower wasn't on the travel roster. Is that injury related? Is that performance related, or?
Great question. So by NCAA rules, right, they're allowed to play in 4 games that allow them to not count as a red shirt or someone that plays the entire year. So High was at 4. We were planning on playing him going into the game, but he asked for the opportunity to possibly redshirt. So that was the first time I'd ever had a conversation like that with him or another player of that same situation. So that came late in the week last Thursday. And again, like as a head coach, I'm not going to make a player do something he doesn't want to do. Position changes, play, not play. So he wanted the opportunity to redshirt. So I obliged and put him in that non-travel mode because I didn't want to put him in the game.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep.
Bret, Ryan Walters has talked a lot about the thing that he's taken most notes from you since you guys have gotten together is, your appreciation for second down on defense. And,
how he's kind of changed. I wouldn't say changed, but maybe added to his appreciation and feeling about how to play that down. You got 4 of your 6 sacks on Saturday on second down. Is that something you've kind of created yourself, or is that a Norm Parkerism? May God rest his soul, or is that somebody else?
That was straight from New England. I heard Coach reference second down as the most ignored down in football, and I never really thought about it. A lot of times I'd always said early down, which was first and second down, but yeah, we constantly talk from a game plan standpoint. There's actually 12 types of second down. So like to say that, like most people are like, but we don't expect our players to know it, but as coaches, we know what it means. And the more you can appreciate that, that year that we won a Super Bowl, there was a huge emphasis on second down and awareness and the game planning of that. And it's been something I've really believed in ever since then. And I know Ryan's bought into that as well. So yeah, it's a very, very common thing.
As a follow-up though, obviously, is there still a chain effect? Because I feel like every time you got those 4 sacks on second down on Saturday, you also won first down, and it can't really be a coincidence in a sense.
No,
is there a chain effect between first, second, and third?
Yeah. So no hidden agenda. We have a number that we believe in on first down. If we can attain that offensively or hold them under that defensively, we call that playing ahead of the chains, which allows you to dictate your calls on second down, offensively, defensively, and then it greatly affects what your third downs are, right? So yeah, we offensively, a lot of times that we've struggled have been because of inefficiency on first and second down. Everybody always talks about first down efficiency. Well, you can be efficient on first down, and second down kicks you in the tail. You're not going to have great success on third, right? So yeah, it all kind of ties together. That's why that little phrase, second down is the most ignored down in football. It really is. Everybody talks about first down, everybody talks third down, and a lot of people obviously talk about fourth down because those become critical, but second down is kind of the redheaded stepchild no one talks about that makes a lot of noise.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, following up on what I asked you about the defense and kind of the progression and building this thing, two of the people you had to find kind of perfect spots forward were Quan Martin at the star position, and then Owen Carney going from a down lineman to a outside linebacker. Can you just talk through how those personnel decisions like that were made and how you think they've worked out, and especially for those specific 2 kids?
Yeah, so the first one by far was OC. So I got in, I watched his film, and I've coached outside backers basically almost my entire career. I've either coached inside or outside backers, and I literally saw a guy that he was ideal for what I knew we were going to play. I saw the frame, I saw the skill, I saw the body type. I got on the phone with him. We had some common people that knew one another, and I started recruiting him every day. And I just told him, listen, you're going to play outside backer. It's not going to be a stand-up. An outside backer like you're thinking of it. It's going to be unique to this system. It's a system that plays into about half the NFL. And I literally just kept selling them every day on, if you come join me, this is what we're going to do. I'll work with you. Whoever I hire as the outside backer coach, I knew I had Kevin on my radar. I didn't know if that was going to be. I will literally work with you as often as I can. So that was literally a day one recruiting story, right? And I'm not as well documented. Like, I could tell I loved him because I got pissed at him on the phone. I didn't even know him, right? Like, there were days where I was like, man, this kid, man, like I can't wait to get him here to make him run, right? Like, I was like getting hot with him. But he was just came back, and I'd never forget his uncle grabbed me that one day and he said, hey, Coach, I know you like being a bad cop, but you got to be the good cop once in a while too. And it was really good for me to hear that, because I was reaching him, but he didn't know me and he didn't know how direct I would be. And now I would say that probably the relationship I have with OC is probably one of the most enjoyable relationships I've ever had in coaching. Just really, really special. And then to see him play, it's just awesome. And then Quan was a little bit more quiet, reserved. On film, we didn't know, hey, should we play him at corner? Should we play him at safety? Where should we play him? And Ryan kind of, saw right away, Coach, he's kind of got star traits, star quality. I knew he had those abilities. I just didn't know, how he would play outside the box, coming in the box. And he is really, I would say, the last 5 weeks turned into an exceptional football player that, again, with him, Sid and Kirby in the back end, those 3 guys together could make a lot of noise here in college football for the next year, because they really play well together, complement each other very, very well.
And how important were those personnel decisions, to from point A to where you were in the spring to point B, where you are now?
Doug, I get it. Like all personnel decisions are big, right? Like, but what you want to do is get your best 11, right? And really, that was the driving force. How do we get our best 11? Even a guy like Mike Marquez, right? Like I was the one. Like I'm standing there and I'm watching him. He's the third outside linebacker, right? And I'm like, every time this guy is in a play, he makes plays. Like, so I asked him to move to tight end, and then about 4 weeks ago, I'm like, let's move him to fullback, right? Like every play he makes, it's a positive play. So like, I just, there's certain things as a head coach that's very enjoyable, and a lot of them are personnel driven, where you see the skill set someone has and what they could do at another position. Julian Pearl, Palcho, just little stuff. Like it says little stuff, but it's big stuff. I was watching Kendrick Green play last night. Like the two guys I went after hard were OC and Kendrick. I'm glad he's enjoying and having a great rookie year with the Steelers. But I also think a lot about, like, if he was here, how I would have navigated that whole situation with him and Doug, because he's obviously very talented center. But those personnel decisions go on all the time. Kendall Smith is now playing safety. Kendall, the last 2 weeks, you guys haven't seen it because you don't see practice. What he's done in the last 2 weeks as a football player at the safety position, that's got me very, very excited. I'm going to move Kanena back to linebacker. I tried him at fullback. It really wasn't what I thought it might be. Didn't know. We'll move him back to linebacker and get ready to rodeo. So it's really getting your best players in the best position to make plays.
Thank you.
Hey, Bret, if I could get a quick follow-up. You mentioned on Saturday the conversation you had with BP's dad, Dave, and you've mentioned kind of the conversation you've had with OC since August with his uncle. How often do those conversations happen with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, when you have a player that you need to reach or approach differently a little bit?
Twofold, Matt. So like the recruiting cycle is so awesome because, you get to know a kid, but they get to know you, right? They know how you operate. But then you have moments that you may need someone beyond what's them, right? Like, who do you go to? Who do you talk to? And when we don't recruit these kids, we don't know those questions. We don't know those answers. When I was down in Florida recruiting, I was able to go to dinner or grab a quick bite with Johnny Newton's mom and dad. Like that hour was like phenomenal for me. Like it helped me so much understand Johnny and what it was. And I got a chance. I was trying to meet Taylon's dad, but because the other one took so long, got a chance to talk to Taylon's dad, right? Like, I mean, just these little moments in time that mean so much when I'm going out on the road trying to recruit those. Just happened. BP's dad stopped me. Thank God he did. Like I was walking by after a post-game presser. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known it was him. I met Art's dad. We had Art, and it was a guest captain for us on the Rutgers game, and got a chance to meet Art's dad, and was just awesome to be around him, right? So like, I've met Palcho's dad now. Met Kramer's mom and dad back in the summer. I just can't wait to meet. We'll have a reception after the spring game where we hopefully get all the parents here for that one, because we're still dealing with some COVID restrictions right now with everything going on. But it helps you in difficult moments, right? And I will tell you, when we recruit a kid, like one of the last things I'll say to a parent when they say yes, that he's coming, right, is, listen, you've known him for 18 years. We've known him maybe for 18 months, right? You're going to know things that bother him, or you can hear things in his voice that we can never pick up on. And the more you can inform us, the better we'll all be, because a lot of times they don't want to tell us difficult things. And then the flip side of it, a lot of times there's things, I know this, right? So, I unfortunately lost a sister when I was in school. So everybody knew about that because it was but when I lost my grandmother, like I didn't tell anybody and no one else knew. And I went through, it was a grandmother that meant everything to me. And I was the only person in the whole school, the entire University of Iowa system, that knew what I was going through. And I didn't tell anybody else. And now that I look back on it, I probably could have had a lot better semester if I had shared with my coach or my teammates what I was going through, right? So communication is everything in this world. And the more we can communicate as a whole in this Smith Center, the better off we'll all be.
Thanks, Bret. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you very much.